This is KGW News at noon.
All of our efforts are focused on finding the sub. What I will tell you is we have a group of our nation's best experts in the Unified Command, and if we get to that point, those experts will be looking at what the next course of action is.
Still no sign of that submersible that went missing during a mission to explore the wreckage of the Titanic. The Coast Guard says it's already searched more than 10,000 square miles and hasn't found anything. Thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Drew Carney. Experts estimate that at this point there's less than 40 hours of oxygen available for the 5 passengers on board. By the way, the company that built that sub and leads these expeditions is based right here in the Northwest in Everett, Washington. The company is called OceanGate, and the CEO is one of the 5 people on board. The Coast Guard says the depths and remote nature of this trip is what's making their recovery mission so challenging. Our sister station in Seattle spoke with a man who was on another OceanGate mission just last year. Colin Taylor described making the descent in the submersible, going down several hundred feet, losing GPS, and just about all ability to communicate with the support ship above.
The ship on the surface is trying to locate you, triangulating various signals that it's getting to try and figure out where you are, but it's very, very difficult to do that at the depths that you're at. So the fact that communications are difficult is not a surprise here. The fact that they lost all communications on the way down, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign.
The big problem for this recovery mission is the fact that the Titanic wreck is nearly 13,000 feet underwater, and U.S. Navy subs at best can only go down 2,000 to 3,000 feet. Here's another story making national headlines this afternoon. Hunter Biden will likely avoid jail time, agreeing to a plea deal with the Justice Department. The president's son is expected to plead guilty to a pair of federal misdemeanor counts of failing to pay his taxes. NBC's Ken Delanian, that is, has more from Delaware.
Good afternoon. The Justice Department has reached a plea deal with the president's son, Hunter Biden. He's agreed to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of willful failure to pay taxes. This concerns his income back in 2017 and 2018. The documents don't say exactly how much taxes Hunter Biden is accused of evading, but we know that he paid a tax bill of more than $1 million last year as part of his effort to resolve this case. He's also agreed to the facts of a felony charge of possessing a firearm as a prohibited person. He was a drug addict. He filled out a form. But that charge will be resolved through a deferred adjudication program and will not go on his record as long as he complies with the terms of that program under this deal. And the Justice Department is expected to recommend probation. So this plea deal calls for no jail time. And it caps a 5-year investigation by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, who was appointed by then President Trump back in 2018, and who has maintained this case through the Biden administration and has operated independently of the Biden Justice Department. We expect Hunter Biden to appear at some point in this courthouse behind me in Wilmington, Delaware, to answer for these charges. But as of now, they are being filed on paper with the clerk's office. Again, Hunter Biden reaching a plea deal that calls for no jail time and an admission to misdemeanor counts of failing to pay federal income taxes. Back to you.
Again, that was NBC's Ken Delanian reporting for us from Delaware. Meanwhile, a federal judge has set a trial date for former President Donald Trump in his case of mishandling classified government documents. The trial is set for August 14th, but experts say it'll likely be pushed back to a later date because of the complexities of this case. The former president has pleaded not guilty after he was indicted earlier this month on 37 counts related to more than 100 classified documents that were discovered at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida last year. Now we're going to take a break from this afternoon's headlines to take a live look at downtown Portland by way of our Rose City Skycam this afternoon. Okay, during the past 48 hours, Rod Hill, we have seen numerous water spouts, a funnel cloud, a tornado, all in different parts of the area. So the question is, has the calm after those storms officially arrived?
Let me add, 3/4 inch hail in some spots over in Clackamas, and we had some road flooding because of more than an inch of rain that came down. Mainly that was on Father's Day. But to answer Drew's question, so far we haven't seen much today. We had some early light rain along the north coast. And then in the last few hours, here's Mount Adams, there's Olympia, there's Yakima. We're seeing most of the rain out of our local region up into Washington. Now, there are a few showers over the Coast Range, the Cascades, and we're starting to see a little bit of rain pop right here, right up along the West Hills. But indications are, and you saw how cloudy it was from the Rose City camera, that we're not going to see any what I would call overly stormy action today. The chance of any hail showers, very spotty at best. For the most part, I really think we're going to see scattered, just kind of typical showers. Right now, we're getting some sun in Lincoln City. That's Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera there. Here's that Rose City view. We're at 62, kind of where I thought we'd be at noon. We're on track to stay in the 60s. And here's the catch. As long as we see more clouds than sun, which we are right now, it's probably going to be a pretty quiet day. If we start to see significant sun, Drew, that's when we could start to pop some heavier showers. Still looks dry for the first day of summer, and that forecast is coming up.
All right, Rob, we look forward to that here in a few minutes. Right now, though, we want to get back to some of this afternoon's top headlines. After a lot of back and forth, Legacy is reopening its birthing center in Gresham tomorrow. It closed back in March without getting the necessary state approval. At the time, administrators blamed staffing challenges and also said not enough babies were being born there to keep the center open. The community pushed back, though, and after several months and a couple of different reopening dates, Legacy says the center will now be staffed around the clock. It's also day 2 of the Providence nurses strike. Just about an hour ago, we got an update from Providence about some services that are resuming despite this strike. The neonatal ICU has reopened at Providence Portland Medical Center, and labor and delivery is also available at Providence Seaside. Nearly 2,000 nurses and clinicians from Providence Portland, Providence Seaside, and Providence Home Health and Hospice walked off the job yesterday morning to begin this 5-day strike. They're demanding higher wages and better health care, including mental health care, and also want more paid time off and sick leave. Providence has brought in replacement nurses to help during this 5-day strike.
This is a challenging time for them, for our nurses, for our community, and for all of us. So it'll be important that as this strike concludes, that we come back to the table, are able to negotiate a fair contract, and really move into healing and reconciliation.
We're the face of the company, and we're the ones that provide everything. So when we say there's something wrong, it shouldn't go in one ear and out the other. It should be listened to. Like, there's a problem. This is the problem. Let's brainstorm solutions and let's make it happen.
Providence has also said that it will not resume negotiations with the nurses union until after this week's strike is over. Starting this week, the Portland Emergency Response System is testing artificial intelligence. The city says it will use AI to answer non-emergency calls. This move to AI comes as both the number of calls and the need for more dispatch workers continues to grow. KGW's Catherine Cook has more on how this change will work.
911.
Emergency dispatch teams in Portland are busy and understaffed. That's according to Portland's Bureau of Emergency Communications, or BOEC. They say call volume has grown every year since 2011, nearly a 28% increase overall. They're considering several proposals to alleviate the influx.
But what I envision are 2 numbers for the community, 911 for emergencies and 311 for everything else.
Last week, city leaders held a public safety call allocation work session. It's part of an ongoing effort to decrease call wait times. BOEC Director Bob Causey said starting this week, they'll be testing artificial intelligence when answering non-emergency calls. They're using a system called Case Service Reporting and plan to turn it on a couple hours a day.
Where an automated attendant will answer the phone on non-emergency, and based on the answers, using artificial intelligence, and that's kind of a scary word for us at times, but using artificial intelligence will determine if that caller needs to speak to an actual call taker, or if they can get that referral information directly and transfer the caller to 311.
Causey says assuming the testing goes well, he'll determine if AI is a possible option for 311 callers. Right now, 311 gives community members access to local government programs and services. The city is considering the idea of using it for all non-emergency response calls.
Where the caller then calls 311, they get that AI attendant, and it's smart enough to know, okay, I'm going to transfer you to BOEC, or I'm going to transfer you to 311, or provide the information that you need right now.
The system can even text information to callers, including connecting them to various websites for web reporting. For his part, the city's community safety transition director says something must be done to manage growing call volume before it overwhelms the city's emergency response bureaus.
A day doesn't go by where we don't see a press release from somebody that says we couldn't make the call, we couldn't get someone there because we're just too busy. And staffing alone will not do it.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.